Good morning, it's Miss All here. Today we're going to be learning about slope-intercept form. I'm going to show you about 5 or 6 examples on how to do this, and then we're going to have an assignment on it, and I want to see how much you picked up and how much you understood from this. I also want to see how this helps with basically doing notes as we would in class, just not in class, but online. So give me some feedback on that as well and what you guys think. Alrighty, so slope-intercept form. It is an equation and it looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. This equation is when you graph a line. M and b are special. M is your slope and b is your y-intercept. A y-intercept is where your line will cross the y-axis. So for example, let's say I have a line and it looks like this. And we want to know where it crosses the y-axis, which is right there. We're going to learn how to basically find our y-intercepts, find the slope, fill in this equation. We also are going to find x and y intercepts. Again, this is the y-intercept. And then where it crosses the x-axis is the x-intercept. I'm just going to abbreviate it with I and T. Okay? Alrighty, so we're going to learn how to find this equation given 2 points. We're also going to find the x-intercept, and we're going to find the y-intercept. I recommend taking notes on this. It should help you guys with this assignment that'll be coming up. So the x-intercept, you can see it's here. It's where the where it lands on the x-axis. But basically, the y-intercept is when the x-intercept is when y equals 0, because you don't move up or down at all on the graph, you just stay at 0. And the y-intercept is when x equals 0. Alrighty. So, let's look at an example problem and see. We're going to end up finding 3 answers. The equation will be 1, the x-intercept will be 2, and the y-intercept will be 3. So we'll have 3 different things we're finding in one problem. So let's say that they give you 2, 0, and the 2 points 2, 0, and 7, 9. So they want to know 3 things. They want to know the equation in slope-intercept form, which again is referring to the y equals mx plus b. And don't forget, slope is basically any incline. If the slope is horizontal, if the slope is horizontal, there is no slope. It's just a flat thing. If it goes upwards, it's positive slope. If it goes down from left to right, it's negative slope. If it goes straight up and down, it's undefined. Okay, so we'll get to that later on, okay? Alright, so first they want to find the equation. Then they want you to find the x-intercept. And then they want you to find the y-intercept. Alrighty, so here you'll have x equals some number, and you'll have y equals some number. Your equation will be y equals some number x plus b plus some numbers. So you're plugging in these 2 numbers. You will have some number and then an x, so then you'll have plus or minus b depending if b is positive or negative. Alrighty, so another thing, a formula, slope is equal to rise over run. It is also equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So don't forget, your points are x comma y. I'm just going to say this is the first point they give me, and this is the second point they give me. So now we're going to plug it into our equation to find the slope. So y2 is 9, y1 is 0, x2 is 7, x1 is 2. So we have 9 minus 0, which is 9. 7 minus 2, which is 5. It cannot be simplified. That would be our slope. So our slope in this case, I'm going to put this here, m is equal to 9 over 5. And I'm putting m because m stands for slope. Okay? Alrighty, so we should know that the x-intercept is when y is 0. And the y-intercept is when x is 0. Alright, so if this is when y is equal to 0, did you notice that y is 0 at this point? So with that being said, what would be our x-intercept? X equals 2. You got lucky and they already gave it to you. Okay? Alright, so now I'm going to find the y-intercept. It's when x is equal to 0. X is not equal to 0 at any of these points, so they did not give it to you. You have to solve for it. So we're going to pick a point to plug into the equation. You can pick any point. Typically, you want to pick the points with the least amount of negatives because negatives sometimes can make little mistakes that you want to try to avoid those. So I'm just going to go with 0, 2. We're going to pick this point, and we're going to plug it into this formula here. So we pick this point, and in this point, y is 0, m is 9 over 5. The x value that we picked in our point is 2. Plus b. B is the y-intercept, so we're going to solve for b and get b by itself. So first and foremost, we have 0 is equal to 9 times 2 is 18. Keep that over 5. Alrighty. And then still trying to get b by itself. So if we have a positive 18 over 5, to bring it to the other side, you have to subtract 18 over 5. Zero minus 18 over 5 is just negative 18 over 5. Those 18 over 5s canceled, and we have b. So our y-intercept is negative 18 over 5. Alright, so just about everything we need except the equation. So y is equal to m. M is 9 over 5. X plus, and b is negative 18 over 5, so I'm going to change that plus to a minus 18 over 5. So your final answer, when you put this on Go Formative, you're going to do your equation, comma, x-intercept, comma, y-intercept. So that's going to look like y is equal to 9 over 5x minus 18 over 5, comma, x-intercept is 2. We'll make sure you put x equals 2, comma, and then y-intercept. Y is equal to negative 18 over 5. This is what your final answer should look like when you type it into Go Formative. Alright. Let's look at another example. Let's say we have 6, 0. Oh, we have y is equal to 0, so we already have our x-intercept. One less thing we have to do. And then negative 1, 3. So, 3 things. Equation, x-intercept, and y-intercept. Alright, but I hope you realized, as I said, we have it then point when y is 0. When y is 0, we have our x-intercept. So we can just automatically write down that x is equal to 6. So that's one thing out of the way. Sometimes you won't get lucky, you won't get your x or y intercept at all, which we're going to do a problem, 2 problems on how to do that. Alrighty? So now we're going to do y equals. Alright, so let's first find the slope. I'm going to say x1, y1, x2, y2. Alright, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have 3 minus 0 over negative 1 minus 6. So we're going to have 3 minus 0 is 3. Negative 1 minus 6 is not negative 5. It is negative 7. You're going to get more negative. Alright, so our slope is going to be negative 3 over 7. So this is m. So we can put that here, negative 3 over 7. We have to find what b is. So negative 3 over 7x plus, and I have to fill in this spot here with whatever b is. So let's solve for that. I'm going to go ahead and pick this point because it does not have any negatives to work with. So I'm going to plug in 0 for y. Negative 3 over 7, x is 6, plus b, and we're going to solve for b. Okay, 6 times 3 is 18, so you have 0 equals negative 18 over 7 plus b. We're going to bring this negative 18 over 7 to this side, so we're going to add 18 over 7 to cancel out the negative. So these cancel. Again, still looking for b is our goal. So we have 18 over 7 is equal to b. Is b by itself? Yes, it is. So b is equal to 18 over 7. You can put it as a decimal if you want to. You don't really have to, though. Alright, so then let's go up a little bit. Alright, so y is equal to mx plus b. What is b? 18 over 7. Alright, so there we have it. We have y is equal to negative 3/7 x plus 18 over 7. X-intercept is 6, and the y-intercept is 18 over 7. That would be your final answer on GoFormative. Alright. Gonna scroll down, look at the next problem here. Alrighty, for the next one, they don't give you the x or the y-intercept at all on your points. So you have negative 7, negative 3, and you have negative 3, 5. So you don't have any zeros. Let's first find the slope. So slope, which is m, is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We've got x1, y1, x2, y2. Alright, so I have 5 minus a negative 3. That becomes adding. Over x2 is negative 3 minus negative 7. Again, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. So 5 plus 3 is 8. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. So our slope is going to be 2. Alrighty, so now we have part of our equation. We have y is equal to, slope is 2, so 2x plus b. And now we're going to choose a point, and I'm going to choose this point because it has the least amount of negatives, least chance of errors. Alright, so I'm going to plug it in. My y is 5. My x is negative 3 plus b. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. To solve for b, I have to add 6 to both sides to cancel out my 6's. So 11 is equal to b. So I'm going to come up here and do the equation. we have our slope, we have our y-intercept. So y is equal to mx plus b. And the y-intercept we found was b, so y is equal to 11. All right, now we're going to find the x-intercept. So if you have your equation, y is equal to 2x plus 11, don't forget that the x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. So we're going to set this equation, make y 0, and we're going to solve for x this time. All right, so we're solving for x. We're going to subtract 11 from both sides to cancel out the plus 11. So we have negative 11 is equal to 2x. And then to get x by itself, the 2 is being multiplied by x, so we're going to divide by 2. These cancel, and you have negative 11 over 2 is equal to x, so that would be your x-intercept. So we have all 3 parts for our answer, so your final answer will look like this. Y is equal to 2x plus 11, where x is equal to negative 11 over 2, and y is equal to 11. That would be your final answer on Go Formative. Let's scroll up really quick. I'm sorry. What point's that? Okay. Alrighty, so let's look at another problem. Let's say I have the points 5, 2, and 4, negative 8. Alright, so again we're finding 3 things: the equation in slope-to-intercept form, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. Alright, so again, they don't give us any zeros at all in either one of our points, so we don't have any intercepts given to us. Let's start with slope. So I'm just going to put m is equal to, this point you should have this part down, especially from distance. Alright, so we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10, and 4 minus 5 is negative 1. These negatives will cancel, which gives me 10 over 1, and 10 divided by 1 is just 10. So our slope is 10. So m is equal to 10. Alrighty, so now we're going to choose a point. We're going to choose this point. It has no negatives in it. And we're going to set that as part of our equation. So y equals mx plus b. So we have y is 2 according to the point. M is 10. X from our point that we chose is 5 plus b. And we're going to solve for b, which is the y-intercept. So 10 times 5 is 50. Plus b. And again, solving for b, so we're going to subtract 50. These 50s cancel, and I have negative 48 is equal to b. So that becomes my y-intercept, and that also becomes the rest of what we need to complete our equation. So y is equal to m is equal to 10 x minus 48. We're subtracting because it's a negative 48. Alright, and then find the x-intercept is when y is equal to 0, so I'm making y 0, solving for x. I'm going to add 48 to both sides to cancel out that part. So I have 48 is equal to 10x. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. These will cancel. X is equal to 48 over 10. You can leave it that way, or you can think about the robot. I forgot its name. I don't know. The robot, though, that we have at school on the board, move it to the left one spot because you're dividing by 10. So x-intercept would be equal to 48 over 10, or 4.8. I know a ninth grader called the robot Torquisha. I think it's Karen for the other class, so whatever you know it as. Alrighty. We're going to do one more, and then we'll be done for the day. So we're going to do -5, 2, and 0, 3. Oh, they gave us a 0, so we have one of our intercepts. We have to figure out which one it is. So again, we're solving for 3 things: the equation, x-intercept, and your y-intercept. Alright. Let's first find the slope. So let me write this underneath again. x1, y1, x2, y2. Alright, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. Alright, so 3 minus 2 is 1, 0 plus 5 is 5. So we have m is 1/5. Okay. Now what do they give us here? They gave us that that x is 0. The y-intercept is when x is 0, so we already have our b. We don't even have to do any math to find b. So we have our equation. Y is equal to m 1/5, x plus b, which is 3. The only thing we have to do now is find our x-intercept. Sometimes you'll get lucky, you'll get your y-intercept. All you have to find is slope and the x-intercept. And then you have your equation with it too. Alright, so the x-intercept is when y is 0. So I'm going to make y 0. And then I have 1/5 x plus 3. We're solving for x. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Those cancel. -3 is equal to 1/5. Alrighty, and then we're going to multiply by both sides by the reciprocal. These will cancel. And I've got -15 is equal to x. So x is equal to -15. So then your final answer would be the equation, your x-intercept, and then your y-intercept. Alright, there you are. So your assignment's going to be on Go Formative. You will complete those for your